Your healthy radio addiction starts now.
Raise my taxes! Raise my taxes!
And that's exactly what I intend to do as President of the United States.
People like competence.
She is my rock.
I have one question. Where is the leadership?
You're going to see people blaming the White House for a situation it didn't create.
Yeah, right. That's a believable scenario.
And let me say this to my brothers and sisters.
Power to the people!
The Laura Ingraham Show.
Our house in the middle of our street. Our house in the middle of our house. It has a crowd. There's always something happening.
When are you guys going to tackle Fannie and Freddie? Is that next?
We're going to tackle Fannie and Freddie.
That is a colossal mess.
Colossal mess, colossal mistake, never should have happened. In fact, we're going to step back and look at the entire housing finance market. It's not just Fannie and Freddie. There's a lot of other things the government does in the housing market that contribute to this.
You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show, 800-876-4123. That is just a little taste of the flashback sound that we have assembled today. Now, we are all over one of the biggest scandals in Washington today that is going to reverberate across the economy that you haven't heard of. Now, the Fannie and Freddie continued bailout, we are all over it. Now, yesterday, check this out. After about $130 billion in federal money has already been showered on Fannie and Freddie, $130 billion. The big mortgage giants. Guess what? Freddie comes hat in hand yesterday to the federal government saying that it needs another $10.6 billion from taxpayers to shore up its financial position. $10.6 billion. And, I mean, Washington just yawns. Nobody's covering it. No one's talking about it. Passing mentions in the news. As everyone's focused on what a nice person Elena Kagan is. Oh, she's a consensus builder. Well, guess what? The Supreme Court's not going to be all that relevant when the U.S. Treasury is completely looted, as it will be if we don't get our handle on this.
It's not fair. It's deeply unfair, and they should be angry about it.
Freddie was already propped up with $52 billion in taxpayer funds. And now we see a scenario by which Fannie and Freddie are presiding over a delinquency rate. That means when individuals are 90 days, at least 90 days late on payments, the delinquencies of mortgage notes across the board are soaring. The phrase, it's a ticking time bomb, I mean, that's kind of overused. And we don't even like to use it. Now we're still worried about the terrorist threat. But this is an economic IED. Single-family conventional loan portfolios. Okay, the delinquency rate at Freddie Mac doubled in the last year.
Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are not in a crisis.
Remember Barney Frank saying all those things? In 2005, 2004, John McCain was raising a red flag. Alan Greenspan was raising a red flag, saying we got to get a handle on this. Back in 2005, I was watching all the old videos today. Delinquencies in the company's Alt-A book. Now, you get to get too technical, but this is one step up from subprime loans. This totaled 12.84%. Delinquencies on interest-only mortgages, 18.5%. Now, these are all on the way to foreclosure. And guess what? When you foreclose on the properties, you get, just a percentage of what the properties are really worth because it's in foreclosure and people do vulture circle and everyone wants to pick up cheap property. So guess what? You and I owe more money. Delinquencies on Freddie Mac's small portfolio of option adjustable rate loans, when you get a 5-year adjustable, 7-year adjustable, 19.8%. Now, this is all written about today in the New York Times. The company's inventory of foreclosed properties, from the period of March 2009 to today, almost doubled from 29,145 units to 54,000 units this year.
Things really suck, but you know what? If it wasn't for me, they would suck worse.
Perhaps most troubling, Freddie's non-performing assets almost doubled, rising to $115 billion from 1 year ago, $62 billion. Pretty much everything's doubling in the bad news category for Freddie Mac. So when it sells these properties, either before or after foreclosure, just to go back to why the delinquency rate is so important, Freddie Mac generates losses that are about 39% or so on its books. And guess who makes up the difference? Well, you have a mirror handy? Oh, get your children and put them in front of the mirror as well. We, as a country, have our collective heads in the sand. Republicans on Capitol Hill, people like John Kyle and others, and I look back to Congressman Kenny Marchant, his questions to Tim Geithner. Now, this was just I guess, maybe a month and a half ago. Marchant was asking Geithner, hey, dude, what are you going to do about this Freddie Fannie situation?
Are you fairly confident, do you have any confidence that the loans that are being originated today and have been originated in the last year are high-quality loans and are not of the same quality of the loans that were originated in the previous 3 years?
Congressman, my sense is that the underwriting standards today are much stronger than they were.
Oh, that one response from Timmy Geithner, who looks like he should be at one of those little boy barbershops with the little cowboy boots on and a little cap gun with his feet swinging on the little barber stool. That one response is enough to fire him.
I just thought I found a way to fit in.
Well, if you don't know, as the Treasury Secretary of the United States, that Freddie Mac's delinquency rate is soaring, meaning they were bad loans. Now, remember, Fannie and Freddie are charged with getting the whole system to be more liquid. They buy up the mortgages that banks, end up getting into business with. I mean, the banks do the mortgages. Fannie and Freddie swoop in and they buy up the mortgages from the banks so the banks can take it off their balance sheet. Now, the banks don't want these bad loans on their balance sheets because guess what? Then it makes their stock price go down. And then the whole banking industry, after the great TARP and all the rescues that were undertaken, then they look to be total frauds. So the banks want this stuff off the balance sheets. Fannie and Freddie come in, keep it going, keep it churning. They are churning these bad loans through Fannie and Freddie at the taxpayers' expense, on our backs. And for the most part, the media have been asleep. This is one of the biggest financial scandals in the United States. We have learned nothing from the housing crisis, the boom and the bust and the carnage, the financial carnage left in the wake of all of this. We seem to have learned nothing as a country.